Excellent. So now that we're inside Maya, we can see this is simply just importing the tracking data. We can see that we have all our points and our camera solve working perfectly. Now it's time to add some animation into here to make so we can render this out and add it into our After Effects composition. First thing we need to do is add a plane. So we're going to come into here. We're going to go down to environment. We're going to go create plane. We then need to find our image sequence, which is in PNG sequences, and we are doing shot 42. And we want to make sure that we can see this. Excellent. So here we go. We can now see our shot. And if we look at it through our camera, we can see how all of our tracking data matches and lines up with our motion. Excellent. So now we have this. Now we can start animating. The best way I found to animate was to add a curve. I've already got one here, but they're quite simple to do. You literally go on create, curve tools, and CV curve tool, and this is how we make this curve. We then added a ball to this curve and make sure it would follow, but for me I needed a whale, so we added the whale. I'll hide my whale. Here we go, and then we just did a simple animation of the whale moving around. So once you have it on a path like this, you can keyframe its individual points, but it will still carry along this path. If you do want to start adjusting some of the timings of this, all that you need to do is go into your curve. Where is it? Here we go. And this is the speed in which it goes along the curve. Excellent. So now that we have this, let's just go back into our view. We can start adjusting our animation to make it fit the scene better. But yeah, now that we have our whale on our curve and animated, looking pretty nice, we're now going to add a sky dome. This is done by going Arnold, Lights, Sky dome. Of course I've already got one here. I'm just going to unhide this, and you can see here we've applied our HDRI to this sky dome. This therefore means that all of the elements inside of our dome will be lit as if they were in the scene itself. So I've matched up this big tree here with the tree in frame, and we're just going to quickly go have a look at some of the properties. So here, this is where we can start adjusting if the HDRI was a mirrored ball, which it was, or if it was long lap, which means it's longitude, latitude. Adjusting the intensity and adjusting the exposure are two ways to make the overall brightness of your scene increase or decrease. So yeah, that's the main points of creating a scene in Maya. It's only a short tutorial, and of course I didn't go through and actually do all of the animation because they do take some time. However, you can see all of the points in which we've talked about in the PDF lesson. So yeah, we've created an image plane, we've added animation into our scene, and we are ready to render. If we go up, change our drop down to render, and we go render, we have to do a render sequence because our Arnold renderer, if we go on to our render settings, we are on the Arnold renderer, and this if we normally I would export PNGs. However, if you export PNGs using this render sequence, it will not support an alpha channel. This also means that it will fill in the background as black, and therefore you'd have to key it out in After Effects, which causes jagged edges and stuff that we don't really want. However, because Arnold renderer does not support this batch render, it cannot. You can't have alpha channels within your JPEG, so we have to use TIFFs instead, which is fine. Make sure that your frame animation name is called frame animation underscore the name. This basically helps with sequentially numbered, bringing them back into Photoshop as sequentially numbered pictures. Make sure you're rendering the right camera and the right frame size. And sometimes we found that upping this camera AA to 4 just adds a little bit more quality into like the colours and stuff. Excellent. The only thing I think left to say is the texturing of the whale. They're all done here, and you can literally just apply your own shaders and stuff to the whale. The only other thing I will say, not in this scene in particular, however in another scene, let me just quickly open. In this scene here, we have actually added a floor plane. This is so that we can have one render with the whale in, one render with the whale out, and creating a shadow on this plane, which we have used to create this shadow underneath. Excellent. So that's everything how to do it in Maya. That was part 3. Next will be compositing in After Effects.